If you work with children with speech sound disorders, today's episode is for you. I'm going to share with you a super simple yet highly effective and really great way to educate parents and other members of the child's team to improve the speech clarity. That's how we're going to write our goals. This way of writing goals has been such a game changer for me. It's taken me years to develop this super simple method, and I hope it works on your back porch as well. Today, I'm just going to give you the nitty-gritty basics of it in the podcast. If you want the details, if you want the step-by-steps, if you want to see the examples, if you want to see it written out, if you want to have an example cheat sheet that you can use with your kiddos, join me in the Preschool SLP Facebook group. It's the Preschool SLP : Kelly Vess SLP. That link is in your show notes. I'm going to have an hour-long training on Monday, August 25th at 12 noon Eastern Time in the Facebook group. If you're not going to make it live, it's going to be saved in that Facebook group so you can access it at a later time. It's really important to me that you know how to write these goals as well. It's going to be such a game changer for your practice. It's going to really get parents involved right from day one on what they can do in the intervention process. And it's also going to make it very simple and clear for you on how your year is going to go and what you're looking for as the final goalpost for the year. It's going to be very easy to measure. What we're going to do here is I'm going to give you that simple 3-step process. This is the basics of the basics, what I share on an audio podcast. However, if you like to roll up your sleeves and get into the nitty-gritty, join me in the Facebook group. Once again, that's the Preschool SLP : Kelly Vess SLP Facebook group. The link is in the show notes. Press on the link, join the group. If you can't join me live on August 25th at 12 p.m. Eastern Time, still join the group and look at the video so you can have that step-by-step process. And I'm also going to have for you a downloadable cheat sheet so that you can just say, okay, I got to write goals for this kid. What did Kelly do? You're going to DSD, you're going to do something different because you have your unique superpowers. But I'm going to show you this is the simplest, most effective way to go about it I found in the last over 20 years of doing this. Step 1. Give your favorite standardized speech test. Mine is the CAP2. I like the CAP2 because it's very easy to give. Now, I work with many children with developmental delays, with autism spectrum, and I focus on the speech motor disorder with them. I need to be able to assess them very easily, very quickly, and I want to get an idea of all the sounds. Research indicates single word speech tests. They're highly reliable to connected speech, even with children with childhood apraxia speech at the preschool level. You can, with confidence, say, I'm picking some great goals based off of this standardized speech test. You can, with confidence, say, this child is making great progress because this is reliable to their connected speech at the preschool level. Make sure to give the same test throughout the year because the tests are very different. You're going to find that with some tests, a child would qualify, as my research has shown, and with another test, they wouldn't qualify. 40% of the time, I found that a child that would qualify under the CAP2 would not qualify under the GIFT at the preschool level. It's not the norming numbers I want you to be concerned with. It's the criterion information. It's the what sounds did they get incorrect? How many errors did they make? That's what I really want you to focus on. The child versus the child, not the child versus the standardized norming group. Let's dive into that. Step 1. After you give that standardized speech test, look for phonological processes. Look for, this is something they do with a couple of different sounds, these patterns. For instance, many of our children front K, G, and the ing sound. So they say it in the front of the mouth. So instead of ka, ga, and ng, they say ta, da. I'm going to give an example of that goal and the 3-step process. I've given the test, step 1, and I've identified the phonological process. Step two, I want to write that annual goal. Where do I want to see them a year from now? And I'm going to base that on the standardized speech test. And that's because that's highly reliable to the connected speech sample. And I'm going to say in a year from now, I want to see them 80% accurate. Now, why do I want to see them 80% accurate? Because when you go below 80%, you're getting more into luck, and the children are going to be more likely to regress into their old speaking patterns. 80% is a great number to ensure that they're going to continue to produce the sounds correctly over summer break. So I want 80% accuracy on that standardized speech test. I'm going to say a year from now in June, I'd like them to produce ka, ga, ing, and I'd like them to produce that 80% accuracy on standardized speech testing. I said 4 out of 5 times they get it correct on the standardized speech test. So we're going to write, I'm going to say by June, we're going to, on standardized speech testing, see 80% accuracy on ka, ga, ing, and ga. And if you think another speech pathologist likes it to be written as a phonological process, we can say the child will suppress the phonological process of fronting. Then you put in parentheses by producing the ka, ga, and ing sound on standardized speech testing. It's friendly for the professionals and for parents to understand. You put it in the plain English, you put it in the professional jargon. It's both in there that they're learning that rule of producing the sounds in the back of the mouth and not in the front of the mouth. That's where we're going a year from now. Now we have 3 objectives to get there underneath this. Now, this is really going to help parents and other members of the child's intervention team to understand principles that are evidence-based. And these principles are a most to least prompting. Hierarchy is most effective. And also the idea that you're going to always ensure that the child is 80% accurate at all times. And the reason you want to do that is if you're above 80% accurate, it's too easy for the child. That's above challenge point. You're giving too much prompts. You need to decrease the prompts. If you're below 80%, then you're habituating errors. Too many times the child is producing the sound incorrectly. Also, the child is likely to get frustrated. So you want to be at that 80% sweet spot at all times. And what we get to do is we get to write the first objective. Objective number 1 is going to be 2 months into the school year. And so if you're like me, there's 4 quarters in the school year, which you produce progress reports on. That's when I'm going to give my standardized speech test, the same test that I gave at baseline 2 months into the school year. The child will be able to produce ka, ga, and ing, provided a maximum level of cueing. Once again, you could say the child will suppress fronting, and then you can put in parentheses to make the professional's jargons happy, in parentheses, by producing ka, ga, and ing, provided a maximum level of cueing. And I'm going to show this in my workshop, how I would write all that out with a maximum level of cueing so I can explain to the parent what that looks like. I'm going to show the parent during that intervention period, this is what a maximum level of cueing looks like. I'm going to show them the cues. I'm going to show them the slow echoed speech. This is when we're holding the child's hand and we're working together to say the sound correctly. We are giving a maximum level of prompting. A lot of times we don't get to see the parent at any other time except for during the intervention meeting. This is a time where we get to dive in and say, this is what intervention's like, and this is why we're doing what we're doing. We're doing it at this 80% accuracy rate. This is what maximum cueing looks like. We're speaking really slowly. We're using the gestures. We're using echoed speech. We're talking together to establish accurate production. 2 months after we begin working with the child, give the child the speech test and look for progress already. Research indicates that after a 2-month period, you should begin to see generalizable gains from what you're doing in speech. This 2-month progress report period actually is very evidence-based. It's nice to give this standardized speech assessment every 2 months. And the neat thing about it with the standardized speech assessment is it's not like a language assessment in which you have to be cognizant of gains that are made because the child had given the test before. You can give the speech test over and over again and not worry about it losing its reliability. Then we're going to go 2 more months in. And now we're going to write the goal, and we're going to say by January, the child will be able to produce kaganing with a moderate level of cueing. So I will explain that in the workshop, in the Preschool SLP Facebook group workshop that I'm doing on Monday. But all you need to know for this podcast is you're going from a maximum level of cueing in the first objective to a moderate level in the second objective. And I'm going to show you how I write that out. But basically, this is where you take the voice away. The first cue you want to get rid of is the verbal cue. The verbal cue is the hardest cue to fade, and it's the most important that you fade it as quickly as possible. When you fade that verbal cue, the child is taking the lead. The child is the teacher, internal locus of control. The child is in charge of the learning. The child's doing the driving. The child's driving the bus. It's a really special, powerful moment. And I show the parents, this is what moderate cueing looks like. And I show them myself doing the cues without talking. Now we're going to go to the third objective. You see how this is all coming out in the school year. Every quarter you have an objective. The third objective is going to be written for March. In March of this year, we're going to want to see the child suppress fronting, and then you can put it in parentheses by producing kagaing, and we're going to want to see it with a minimal level of cueing. With this minimal level of cueing, I'm going to write it out. You're going to see it in the Preschool SLP, Kelly Vessel SLP Facebook group. Join that Facebook group. I'm going to show you how it's written out. But what I'm going to tell you is with a minimal level of cueing, we're starting to use images. We might just, for instance, say, what are we going to remember to do? We're going to remember to keep it in the child to say back of the mouth. And the child will tell you the rule because the child's the teacher. Okay. All right. Ready? Go. Okay, where did you keep your in the back of your mouth? Okay, you're the teacher now. You're telling me the rules. You know the rules now. That minimal level of cueing is where the child is having the image, right? You're telling them, maybe you're saying monster mouth. They're stating the rule. You're giving them the reminders. They're creating the image. And this is all imagery. We're going to decrease the gestures. And now the child is producing the sound given image. If they seem like they're going to do the T, horseback, or something like that. We might do a little call out there. It's a single word speech test. Then we get to June, the end of the school year, that annual goal where we want to see 80% accuracy on standardized speech tests. That's when it's spontaneous. That's when they don't need the cues anymore. That's where we want to see them when they go off for the summer. Are they always going to be at that level before they go off for the summer? No, but the parent has the idea this is where we're headed. We're headed to them doing it on their own, and we're going to give them a maximum to moderate to minimal level of support at 80% accuracy at all times to get them there. Now, I also explained to the parent that it's not this simple. In a single session, I will be at a maximum level of cueing when the child is disinterested in the activity or the child is tired. I will go down to a minimal level of cueing when the child is highly engaged, when the child's highly motivated. It's a dance. That's what dynamic tactile temporal cueing is about. It changes on a moment-to-moment basis. So it's like, okay, you need more support this second or this minute. The next minute, you're going to need less support. You're always adjusting your level of cueing, but this setup lets parents know that we're headed from a most to least prompting hierarchy, and we're always going to stay at that 80% accuracy level no matter what. And we get to show them this is what it looks like when I'm providing a minimal level of cues. And this is what it looks like when I'm providing a maximum. And this is what it looks like when I'm providing a moderate. And in a session, I'm going to be doing all three. Because children, they're kind of like roller coaster rides. You're high attention, highly engaged, minimal cueing. Low attention, losing interest, maximum cueing. We always need to make sure they're at 80% accuracy. We can't say, oh, they lost interest, they're at 0% accuracy now. No, we have to up the cueing then if they're losing interest. We have to make sure that accurate practice is occurring. That is the down and dirty nitty gritty of how to write goals. The 3-step process is step 1, we're going to give a single word test, identify the phonological processes. Step 2, we're going to have the annual goal at the end of that school year. Step 3, this is what it looks like at a maximum level, moderate level, and the minimal level. All of that is a simple 3-step process. If you have parents there, if you have teachers there, everyone is on board. They get the plan. They get the cues we're using. It's going to be always, depending on the child, I'm going to go all up and down that level of cueing, depending on a moment-to-moment basis, if the child's engaged or not, if their capacity is all in, or if they're getting tired and they're losing accuracy. We're always going to be changing what we do on a moment-to-moment basis to make sure that positive, accurate practice is happening and not negative practice. We don't want that to habituate. We want the accurate practice to habituate. Make sure to join the Facebook group if you're not already in it. The Preschool SLP Facebook group, Kelly Vest SLP, really important. That's when I'm going to have the live training Monday, August 25th. I hope you're going to join me there live, 12 p.m. Eastern Time. But if you can't make it there live, you can come at a later time. So if you're listening to the podcast in the near future, in the future, join the Facebook group then. Check in. I'm going to keep the training in there for you. I want you here with me on the intervention drawing board. Thank you for being with me. I appreciate you changing lives with me. That said, roll up your sleeves and do what you do best. Make the world a better place, one child at a time. You will always be first.